No, that wouldn't be rude. That would be interesting.
Okay, continue with it. Sorry. What would it mean for M theory if the LHC does not find Susie?
For M theory, well, okay. So, well, first of all, I wouldn't mix these things up. You know, supersymmetry is logically independent of anything to do with M theory or string theory, in the sense that it's a potential symmetry that nature, like I said, may or may not use. Now, the context in which it was first understood was in studying string theory, and it is the case that a lot of what we understand about string theory incorporates supersymmetry in a natural way for a lot of its internal consistency, at least for the simplest theories. But it's so you know, if supersymmetry were found, it would be nice because it would suggest that, you know, this other stuff we've been working on that, like supersymmetry, maybe, you know, is in some sense on the right track, at least in terms of an interesting construction. But I think it would be going too far to say that if you find the one, it implies the other, and the converse. If you don't find the one, then it suggests that the other isn't relevant. I just don't think they're tied together as strongly, and so it just means that I think looking at the broader picture and connecting to what I was saying earlier about supersymmetry, maybe not necessarily at these lower energy scales, it just means that we missed an opportunity to maybe get access to probing string theory and M theory if supersymmetry were tied to them and at low energy. But we'll just have to look for other opportunities.
This portion of the interview is more detailing you. Tell us about your work in the African Summer Institute.
Oh, ASTI, right. This was, what was it, 2004, the summer in southern Africa, so the winter here in North America. Let's see, I'm trying to remember now what the numbers are. I think in the end we had people from 11 different countries around Africa come in Cape Town. The University of Cape Town were kind enough to help me host the, not sure to call it, the event, the workshop, the thing. In a way, part of the difficulty I'm having saying what it is because it, in some sense, is a little unusual. It has people from a number of different stages of their career, so grad students, undergraduates, but also postdocs and full faculty, all sitting together and you know, trying to connect together in various ways. I also attempted, it didn't actually work, attempted to bring in local high school science teachers as well. And so that's why it's difficult to say. It's not a workshop, it's not a school, it has a little bit of all of those aspects to it. I actually modeled it on what's called the Park City Mathematical Institute, which I recommend you looking up. It's a really great umbrella of activity that runs each year along the same lines. And anyway, so what was the point? The point for me was to try and find ways of connecting lots of different people at different stages up together to help strengthen what they're doing in terms of careers in science, doing science research, exploring science, teaching science, etc. And so the original intent was to do that with local involvement by actually moving it around in different places each year. So it would move to different places would host it, and then shape it to their needs. But that inclusive aspect of having people from all over, and in particular all different kinds of universities, not just necessarily the well-off universities that have lots of grant money, but also perhaps the universities that don't have as much infrastructure to have that kind of activity, and really just inject, with the help of some outside funds, this kind of connectivity. It's extremely important when you're losing people along the pipeline, as it were, in careers, to help them find ways of getting from where they are to the next step. And one way of doing that is for them to actually meet people who are at that next step or going to that next step as well, so that they can learn all the different opportunities or just get inspired by meeting other people like themselves. So that was part of the main objective. And then the other part of it was simply also to give the opportunity for lots of colleagues of mine to fly in and give lectures on various topics in physics.
Which brings me to my next question concerning that is, are we going to see an ASTI here in the West Coast?
I have less interest, if the truth be told, in trying to find funds to fund things here in, for example, the West Coast, because I think there's already a lot of infrastructure and available funds within the US to do that. I don't think I need to be doing that. So my intent was to try and do it where it's perhaps more needed. That said, I only ever did the one because I couldn't actually get funding for continuing in later years. I particularly wanted to get a combination of external funds and local funds, and I tried, but didn't get the kind of funding I needed. So until that happens, it's not going to happen.
Well, unfortunately, here in America, we'd rather fund private mercenary companies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you could be specific, just one item, what would you tell kids in middle school and high school today that are interested in your field of work or even applied physics? One piece of advice, a specific one.
One piece. The primary piece of advice. Do it because you love it. It's going to be a long sentence with commas. So
That's fine.
All the one
piece.
right?
You could be Faulkner if you like. These are run-on sentences, by the way, folks.
So do it because you love it, because it's going to mean a lot of hard work. It's going to mean a lot of struggle, and if you don't love it, if you're not passionate about it, then you really should be doing something else. That actually applies to any career choice you make, but I think people do get very excited about all these great ideas that are going on in physics and what have you, and it sounds fun, but in order for those ideas to actually be translated into very useful ideas, you need to work on them for years, and that means hard work. It means developing your skill set in whatever area you need in order to investigate that area of research. So the kinds of people that do well are very curious on the one hand, very excited about ideas on the other hand, but also prepared to work hard. And so that's the main piece of advice. You won't work hard at something if you don't love it. So
what you're telling us is we should pursue our vocation and not our ambition. Vocation being something that you love to do, and ambition is something that you want to be.
I think the two are not mutually exclusive. So I would say it in the longer form I said earlier, because I think your vocation can be your ambition.
Okay. Please share more on your interest in movies and music.
Well, what do you want to know about my interest in movies and music? I mean, we only have a finite time, so perhaps help.
Oh, okay.
What do you want to know?
How about this? I'll do a rapid fire, and then we'll just make that the third part of our interview, because I know we have limited time.
Okay. I just don't want to ramble on.
No, that's okay. I'm gonna do this quick because there's only 7 of these. Okay? But CDs or vinyl?
Oh, CDs or vinyl?
No, this has to be quick.
Really?
Yeah, you have to answer. Oh, I stumped Professor Johnson. Yes.
CDs, I suppose.
He did a lot of foundational mathematics in the early '90s. The string theory is used today, and I stumped him. Go ahead.
I suppose CDs only because of availability of stuff.
Okay, Miles or Ellington? Oh, I stumped him again.
That's tough. That's impossible to answer.
Okay, how about Miles or Coltrane?
Also impossible to answer. Can't you give me an easy one?
Oh, yeah, I'll give you an easy one.
Miles or Kenny G
No,
or something like that?
no, I'll give you an easy one.
Oh, there you go.
Reed Richards or Tony Stark?
Probably Reed Richards.
Okay. Mac or PC?
Almost certainly Mac, but with reservations, because I think they're turning into the evil empire.
Oh, because you have Mac problems with your '08 notebook, right?
No, it's not that. It's all the other stuff.
Okay,
But
Ubuntu.
they're still doing good stuff.
Ubuntu or Windows 8?
I'll pass.
Day person or night person?
I've actually changed. I used to be a night person. I've actually turned more into a day person now. Maybe it's partly tied to, having to teach and go to meetings and what have you. But yeah, I used to do some of my best work at, 3 a.m.
And the last question on that with these rapid fire ones is, would you be willing to do this again in the future?
Interviews? I do interviews all the time.
With me?
With you, sure. Well, it depends on how you cut it together. Let's see.
No.
Let's see how you edit it.
This is unedited. Because
Oh, cool.
the one I did with John Bai is unedited. So.
Okay.